reaches to me. In the fullness of your grace, in the power of your name, you lift me up. You lift me up. Let's sing. Unfailing love, stronger than mountains, deeper than ocean, reaches to me. In the fullness of your grace, in the fullness of your grace, in the power of your name.
Well, a pleasant good morning and welcome to the CCG Hour. It is great that you can be with us this morning. I am so happy to be here and to not be the one doing too much talking. I have my friends with me, and I can officially say my friends. I think I could say that.
Oh yeah, we're good.
Yes, my friends Joel and Lonnie with me from the Inland Revenue Division. And for those of you who caught the program last week, and from the reviews I got, oh boy, it was a well-informed session. Some of you were so happy. It's like, oh, I didn't know that I was breaking the law. Well, just like me, I didn't. But it's good, and we're all good. And yes, the police is not here, so at least we can fix the things that we got wrong, because now we have information that we can work with. So, good morning, gentlemen. Thank you again for coming.
Good
Nice to be
morning.
here.
Good morning. Pleasure again, as always.
Yes. And well, now it really feels like family for true.
That's the idea.
Right. So today we are going to do something that, wow, I don't want to be bold enough to say it's not been done. Maybe, most likely it's been done, but certainly you don't see it often.
Right.
Which is, and I'm rising the excitement level, so get excited at home. We're actually going to go through the forms, the forms and so forth that you have to use to file. Well, they'll talk about that in a proper way more than me. But we're going through that. And for those of you, the reason I'm just saying it quickly and then handing over is because for those of you who definitely need maybe to grab the form, because you had it there and was going to do like what I did when I didn't know better and say, I don't have no time for that. I'm making enough to... No. If you know that you got that form from the government, from the Inland Revenue Department, and you did not do anything with it except throw it in the corner, hello, please go and find it. That's number one. If it is that you really don't know what you did with it, Lord, what can they do? Can they go get it and they could get a copy?
They could go online actually and they could download a form.
Okay, so let me hand that over one time. Let's talk about the form for real. And because I'm having a feeling that there are people who got it, and because they've not been filing, just figure, I don't have time for that, and move on from there. So let's go wherever this will lead us.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to be here again. I will leave the form aspect to Mr. Johnson when we get there. But just to updates on a few things. Back to the amnesty. We are out in the streets this morning in the various parishes, promoting amnesty once more again. We'll be out there with flyers. You can ask your questions. You'll get answers right on the street. Also, we'll be out in the district offices Mondays, well, for the entire week. Come Monday start. So we'll be out there. I think we'll be in Grenville on Monday, Sotes on Wednesday, Guave on Wednesday, Victoria on Thursday, St. David's will be on Monday. So the officers will be out in those specific days. Carriacou, there is an officer in Carriacou now. So they can get attention right wrong because the officer is stationed in Carriacou.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they can get the attention right wrong. We should be doing some school programs as well. We should be out there in Hermitage on Monday and Bel Air on Monday as well. And I think on Thursday we should be somewhere else in St. Patrick's. So we are doing a few things to promote the amnesty and get people aware of a wonderful opportunity which they need to take advantage of. Because come 2024, it will be a different story as it relates to arrears and how Inland Revenue deals with collecting the government's revenue. So now is the time to take a
Online at ird.gd. There's a section at the top of the page that says form downloads, where you can download all the forms as it relates to Inland Revenue, whether it's a registration form or your income tax declaration form. So you can download the form now, and now we're going to jump into the
Yes.
discussion about the form.
Yes, definitely.
So I told you where you could find the form. We're also going to speak now briefly on why you should fill out your form. So of course, the first reason why you should fill out the form is one, once you are registered, you are required to complete the form. You're obligated to complete the form. Number two, once you're a salaried employee and your income is over $36,000 a year, that equates to just about $3,000 per month, you are also obligated to fill out an income tax declaration form every single year. Additionally, if you are a business owner or you're a director of a company, you too are required to complete your income tax form. All right, so these are the reasons why. Benefits. If you don't fill out your income tax form, you will be considered what we call non-compliant. So you'll be considered a non-compliant taxpayer. Non-compliant taxpayer, you may have a few challenges going down the line. One, you may have the Inland Revenue on your back calling you to file, or you might owe some penalties for not filing, so we might be after you and charge you for that. If you're trying to sell some property and your income tax is not in a good state, that might affect you going through with that. And very soon, when the government introduces the exit certificate, if your taxes are not filed, or you haven't paid, or you're not compliant, you may have challenges trying to travel to leave the country.
Really?
So it's very important that you file. Additionally, for persons who have to get refunds, you may have to get an income tax refund or some tax refund for something. If you do not file, you will not be able to get that tax refund. For information out there, why would you get a refund? I think we spoke briefly on it last week.
Yes.
Grenada's tax system is not like the US and Canada where you get tax refunds based on number of children you have or if you give to charity. In those countries, remember, you start paying tax from the minute time you earn 1 cent or $1. You start paying tax on all of your income. In Grenada, you only pay tax on your income over $36,000. So we give an exemption to everyone.
Right.
So if you have to choose between getting a refund based on your children and so on, as opposed to getting a big exemption, I think most persons will realize that getting the exemption kind of outweighs it because it's fair. Everyone gets it.
Yeah.
If you only get a refund based on your children or your circumstance, then some would not get at all. So in Grenada, our tax system is different. Everyone gets the exemption and then you pay. Mind you, with the exemption, some persons, you end up in a refund situation some years because, for example, you may work with a company for only 3 months in that year. For those 3 months, your salary was over the $3,000, so they deducted income tax from your salary. However, because you did not work with them for the entire year, cumulatively for that year, your income falls under $36,000.
Right.
So in your case, you will be entitled to get a refund for what your employer would have deducted for the first 3 months.
Oh, that is how it works.
That's so you get tax refunds. But if you do not file, IRD will not get that declaration from you and there will be no refund for you. So you may just lose that money that you should have gotten as a refund.
Right.
Also, some persons, maybe during the year, you may be earning commission. So maybe some months you got paid more than the others and they might deduct some income tax from you more than the regular months. But at the end of the year, collectively, when you do your reconciliation with your tax form, you recognize that your employer paid $1,000 for you and you were only supposed to pay IRD $300. You were supposed to get a refund of $700. Again, if you don't file, you will not get that refund.
Right.
So now that we spoke about a few of the benefits, let's turn our direction to the screen. Mr. Alexis is gonna, if he has anything to add, he's gonna say, and then we're gonna jump to the screen.
Before you go into the actual form, just to add as relates to benefits, you mentioned about exit certificate, but presently we have a tax compliance certificate.
True.
So it's something that we have in place now. Most of the time, if you need to get some kind of concession from GIDC or maybe some government ministry that you need to do something for, maybe a job or something like that, they usually ask for a tax compliance certificate. So those ministries usually ask for that. Now, if you do not file and you don't want to get in a job, you will need a tax compliance certificate. If you do not file, which means that you're not compliant, so you cannot receive a tax compliance certificate. So it's important that you file for all of those reasons. So there's an extra reason why you should file.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned from our last program, you may have a construction business.
Yes.
And
That is the one exactly
Right.
in my mind when you
Yes,
were saying
right.
that.
So
Contracts.
that's another example again. And So that's the other reasons why you should file your income tax when you receive the declaration.
Okay, just a quick question before we go directly into the form. When do people use? What is the period of time that people usually get the form? Okay,
I'll speak about all that. So, still on the tax compliance certificate, you may also have employees who are not Grenadians in your company or your firm, and they will have to renew their work permits on an annual basis.
Correct.
If you, as the employer, are not tax compliant, you will not get a compliance certificate, so you will not be able to apply for those persons to renew their work permits.
Correct.
So it's a pretty serious thing. So you need to ensure that you're always compliant. So now, speaking income tax again.
Yes.
So income tax in Grenada is based on what we call it the financial year. So the year runs January to December.
Right.
So at around December, early January, or maybe even since November, Inland Revenue begins printing those forms to mail them out to individuals.
Right.
So you start receiving your forms between November, January, right into sometimes some persons get it in February. When you get those forms, you are required to file for the financial year which has just ended in December. So we give you 90 days. The law allows you 90 days to file your income taxes. So which means when the year ends on December 31st, you have 90 days, which starts from January 1st to file your income tax. Most years, that 90 days lands on March 31st.
Right.
Of course, if it's a leap year, it might end up being April 1st or 2nd, etc. So count 90 days, but I normally tell people for safety, think March 31st in your mind as a deadline.
Yes.
Make sure you file by March 31st. So the forms will be sent to you before, and you have up to March 31st to file. Now, with our technological age, where we have online options, you don't need to wait for the form anymore.
Right.
You could file online, or you could download the form, like I said, on ird.gd, and you could complete your form since January 1st and submit it. Because once January 1st comes, you can't earn no more income for the previous year.
Correct. Yes.
Yes, so you could file your taxes January 1st. Good, so that's it about the deadline and the time for filing. Remember, if you don't file on time, we spoke about it last week, you get charged a late filing penalty.
Right.
So now turn your attention with me to the screen. I'm hoping that you all can see the screen that I'm following from. So we're going to go through the income tax form now. I'm going to try to not do it too quickly because Mr. Alexis and I were familiar with it, so it comes like second nature to us. But I'm trying to explain, so I'm going to put on my teacher hat right now.
Yes.
It's been years since I was a teacher. I'm going to put on my teacher hat and try to explain it properly for you.
Right.
So the income tax form, as you can see on your screen, I'm hoping. The top of it says Government of Grenada. So this is the authority that sanctions you to file your income tax. It says Income Tax Act number 36 of 94. That's the principal act. And you're filing to Inland Revenue Division. It says individual income tax return. So this form is not for a company. This form is for the individual. So you are the individual, you and I. So it's for individuals. It's not for companies. Yeah. The next line says for the year of assessment. We already started it for you. We put 20 ... So you could write in whether you're filing for 2021 or 2022. You can't file for 2023 because we're still there now.
Yes.
But those of you who, like my good friend here last week, did not file for a number of years, you might have to file for 2020, 21, 22, 23,
Oh,
24.
so you can go all the way
Back, yeah.
Yes, you have to
Go back to
file.
6
You have
years.
to go back.
Okay,
You have to
okay.
go back and file for the missing periods.
Wow.
This section that I'm about to read for you, I'm hoping you could see it. I'm going to try to make it a little bigger. It's very important, and I think most persons don't read that section. It reads, by virtue of the provisions of Section 65 of the Income Tax Act number 36 of 1994, you are required to prepare a true, first word true, and correct statement of the whole, not part, of the whole of your income from every source for the year of assessment on this form and deliver it to the Comptroller of Inland Revenue. So this form is not just for your salary. It is for your income from every source.
So
And we
if
want
somebody gives you a
income.
gift, that comes in as income, or
We could speak about that a little later when it
No
comes
problem.
to the gifts and all the nitty-gritties. But we're talking about
Okay.
you work. Let's just keep it with working right now. You work for a company, you get paid, you have a side job, you are a side hustle, so you call it, you get paid for it. You have to declare that on an income tax form.
Okay.
It goes on to say, duly signed by you within the 90 days following the end of the basis period, which I spoke about earlier. It goes on to say, please read all instructions before completing this return and sign the declaration on page 1. Important to note, it is an offense punishable by fine or imprisonment to make a false return. Punishable by fine or imprisonment. So persons don't always take this seriously, but if you know for the year you made $100,000 and you put on this form that you only made $60,000, God knows also that you make it that you're lying. But if Inland Revenue finds out, which we easily could, with just a careful look at your form, we easily could, you could be fined or you could be imprisoned for your false declaration. So let's take this seriously as we go through the income tax form now. Of course, the first section is where you're going to put your personal data. I'm hoping you could still see it. We ask you to print in block letters so we could understand it, make it legible as best as you can. So the first thing, you're going to put your last name, then you're going to put your first name. If you have initials, you're going to put your initial, whether it's J or A or whatever. This section here is for your tax account number. Your tax account number is 8 digits. 8 digits make up your tax account number. Your tax account number can be found on the tax form that was sent to you, top left corner. It is always stated that that's a unique number to you. Don't give it out to anyone else. Then we ask you for your present address. So you're going to update your present address on this tax form. Now, remember last week we spoke about persons informing the division of changes in their address and their phone numbers. Right. So if you would have changed your address during the year or your phone number, this is the time on this form where you update it and they give us your most current information. Of course, you're going to place your date of birth here. I mean, these things are important so that we ensure that we know exactly whose form we're correcting. Because, for example, my name is Joel Johnson, and I know for sure there's another Joel Johnson in Grenada. But when I put in my date of birth and my address, the Inland Revenue would know, okay, this is exactly the right Joel Johnson that we're capturing. It's going to also ask you for your sex, male or female, your NIS number, that helps us identify you better, nationality. It says mailing address. So if your mailing address is different from your present address, you're going to list it there. If not, you can leave it blank. Of course, you're going to put your country, whether you're a resident of Grenada, yes or no. That's important. You're going to place that in. Your home phone number, your work number, your cell number. The section to my right. So if you are home with someone and they receive their tax form, but that person is deceased, we're asking you to please put in the person's date of deceased and just return that form to Inland Revenue. So your father would have died and he's still getting tax forms. Don't curse and say, hey, my father died. Why do you keep sending this form to me? Sorry, we did not know that your father died. So if you complete this form, don't complete the entire thing. Just put in the date that your father died. Send it in to us. If you could copy the death certificate also, that would be useful. Return the form to us. Once we get it, we will cease from sending the form to your deceased father again.
Right.
Of course, you're going to put your occupation. That's important. We have this section here for persons to put the date of entry in their service and date of departure. So your date of entry is the date that you started working for that company. If you're no longer working for that company or if you cease to work for that company during that period, please put a date of departure so that we could remove you from being attached to that company. So for example, if I'm working with Government of Grenada, but this is my final month working, when I fill out my income tax form next year, I'm going to put the time I started working in the government. I'm also going to put the date that I stopped working in the government. It might just mean I would not need to file income tax again. I might be retired. So it's important to put that information there. Also, we ask for your employer's name, whether it is Government of Grenada or Nawasa or Grenlec, put your employer's name. In the other section, ask for your financial institution and your account number. This is key information, especially if you have to get a refund. We ask you to please complete that section so that way when we have to do the refund to you, it's going to cost us less rather than printing a check. We're just going to credit your account with your refund and let you know that your account was credited with your refund. Of course, those of you who don't want to give us your account number, have no fear. If we want to know it, we could find it out on our own. It's well within our rights. So just to get into the form right now, and over the years, we would have tried to simplify the form. Now, don't take offense. I'm saying that it is simplified. In our mind, it is a very simple form because, like I said, we do it all the time. But to you, it might seem complicated. You might be seeing those lines and you get worried. You get nervous every year. So hopefully, after this session, you will understand it. So I'm just encouraging you. When you see the form, don't be scared of the form. Just try to read it line by line as you read your Bible, line upon line, precept upon precept, and make sure you understand what the form is asking you to do, okay? So let's look at it. Line number 101. Are you following? You have your form out? Excellent. Line number 101 asks you for your annual wage and salary earned from employment. It says, including NIS benefits. So, we're asking you for your annual wage and your salary earned from your employment. Now, your salary is what you get every single month. Now, if you get other benefits like you get an allowance or you get bonus or you get overtime, you include it on that line right there. if during the year you were sick for some time and your employer did not pay you, but NIS is the one that paid you, you're going to include those NIS benefits there also and include it on line number 101. Okay, we understand? So that is from your main employment, your salary, your wages, what you work for, what you earn. The next line asks you for your other income. Another income, it has in bracket from Schedule B. I'm going to scroll on quickly as we look briefly at Schedule B so we see what the other income entails. Other income. So other income, we have a few examples what it could be. It could be maintenance or alimony, otherwise known as separation funds received. So if you receive some separation funds during the year or receive some maintenance money during the year, if you receive it, you have to include it under the A section and you put that figure there. If you receive any other annuities, different persons, those who that would apply to you know what I'm speaking about. I'm not going to define it. If you receive other annuities during the year, you're going to put that in there. Number 2 says premiums, commissions, fees and license charges, interest or discounts received, board fees. You're on a particular board. Yeah, you're going to include those board fees on that line and include it in your other income. We have number 3, recovery of any deductibles previously allowed, bad debts, insurance recoveries, etc. You have to include those things. This section doesn't really apply to what we're dealing with now, but number 4 says apportionment of income from partnerships. So if you're a part of a business and you're a partner, you're going to put the amount that comes to you from that partnership there on that form. Section 5 says other sources might be traveling allowance, housing allowance, for the police officers, good conduct allowance, displacement allowance, nurses, seniority allowance, different allowances that you receive. That's not really your salary. They are considered other income. You place it on that line. And of course, we have sections that we do not name. So if you have other income, whether it is, like I said earlier, from your hustle, your side hustle, or whether you sell eggs from home, or whether you have chickens, or whether you sell celery to some school, whatever other income you receive, whatever other income you receive, you add it in there and you just write it in. So under the A section or the C section, you can say, okay, government, I made $10,000 because I've been rearing fowls all year, and I sold chickens and I sold eggs, and that's the money that I made. So you include it in your other income, and now you total all the other income. So you have a total for all the other income that you receive, and you put it on number 6, and that is what you bring back on line number 102 right here. So that's your total other income. Are we together so far? Excellent. Next line, number 103. Number 103 doesn't relate to salaried workers, but it relates to businesses. It says accessible income from business activity. So if you would have done a business during the year, you have a business, you're the owner of a small business. After your business makes a profit, if your business made a profit, this is what comes on this line, line 103. Now there's a schedule, we're not going to go through it, Schedule K, which helps you calculate your accessible income as a business. Like I said, we're not doing that today. But this line applies to businesses. So if you know you do not have a business, this line does not apply to you. Don't worry and say, oh, but I don't know what to put on that line. What they're asking me, what they're asking. No. If it doesn't apply to you, leave it out and move on. Okay?
Right.
Similarly, number 104, it says total loss from business activity. So of course, if your business does not make a profit, you could possibly have made a loss. Again, if you don't have a business, ignore those lines and move along. So if your business made a loss, you're going to report your loss on line number 104. Then we move on to line number 105, and it reads total accessible income. And in bracket, it tells you what to do. It tells you it is a sum of lines 101 to 103. So basically, that line will include your wages and salary. If you had other income on line 102, you're going to add it. If your business made a profit on line 103, you're also going to add it, and you're going to put that total on line number 105. But for the benefit of most persons, if you're just a salaried employee, line 105 might just be the same as line 101 if there's nothing else to add. But I think almost everyone knowing Grenada has some other income. Whether you have a little apartment renting downstairs, tell me. Yes, I know. Or something that's other income
So
also.
that's okay.
Yes, that's
So you put your total accessible income on line 105. Next line, line 106, is very important that we understand this one. This one speaks about the exempt income. Now, if you don't put your exempt income, then you're basically going to be calculating tax on all of your salary. Legally, government gives you an exemption of $36,000. If you don't want it, you could tell us you don't want the exemption, you want to pay more taxes, no problem. Mr. Alexis and I would not refuse. The more the merrier. But it is there by law. Government gives it to you so you can claim it. Now it says see Schedule A. So let's look briefly at what Schedule A asks for so we can understand more of the exempt income and what goes on that line. So this is Schedule A. It says exempt income. Now, remember earlier when we looked at line number 101 and I told you 101 asks for your salary, wages, and also NIS benefits. Now, by law, NIS benefits are exempt. So although you would have included it on line 101, when you do Schedule A number 1 asks you, did you receive any benefits from NIS? So if you did, if the money that you included in line 101 was from NIS, you're going to put the total that you got from NIS under the exempt schedule. So that way you're going to exempt it. So you're not paying tax on the NIS schedule. But because the Income Tax Act requires you to give a declaration of all of your income, you have to declare it on line 101, then you're going to exempt it because by law it is exempted. So number 1 under the exempt schedule says benefits from National Insurance Scheme. You're going to put that total there. Good. Line 1, number 2 under the exempt schedule says income accruing from a retiree from a source outside of Grenada who prior to retirement was a non-resident. So if some of the money that you receive, whether you're getting maintenance money or alimony, that came from a source outside of Grenada, from someone who retired, they already retired and they're sending money to you, but before they retired, they were not even a resident of Grenada, that money is not taxable. So you're going to declare it at the front, whether it's under other income or whatever. You're going to say, yes, I made that money, but under the exempt schedule, you're going to deduct it as an exemption because by law, you're not required to pay income tax on income from a source outside of Grenada from someone who prior to retirement was a non-resident. We together so far? Good. Number 3 says, any travel, subsistence, or transport allowance paid by a member of parliament or any public officer. So there are public officers, public workers, government workers, and members of parliament who receive allowances. It might be a travel allowance, it might be a seniority allowance, it might be a displacement allowance. Those allowances, well, not all of them, most of the allowances they're not taxable. So of course, you're going to declare it in the income section and say, yes, I received that money. But when it comes to the exempt schedule, you're going to put in what that allowance was, whether it was your traveling or whatever, put the total that you received for the year, and it's going to be exempted from your income. Number 5 says, any other income as listed in Section 25 of the Income Tax Act. Now, this one specifically deals with businesses.
Forget 4.
Or forget 4, sorry. Oh, yes, number 4 says the first 36,000. So we have to put that in. So the first 36,000, like I said, that's the exemption that everyone is entitled to. Once you're a Grenadian, that is. Non-Grenadians are not entitled to that. Yeah, so let's make it clear. So if you are a non-national and you work in SG or so and you're listening to me, you don't get that exemption, I'm sorry. Yeah, only Grenadians get that 36,000 exempted.
So then maybe we'll have to talk about, citizens and not non-citizens. We'll do that, of course,
another time.
That, I think,
so if you're a Grenadian, a citizen, you're entitled to that 36. So we made it easy for you. We already wrote it in on the form. So in case you forget it, we already write it in for you.
But just to mention, there's a section that speaks about the resident and non-resident on the first page.
Okay.
So that's why it's important to put whether you're a non-resident or a resident.
Yes, in the first section here.
What you're exempted from.
Yes, this section right here, make sure you put whether you're resident or non-resident.
Okay.
Good. So let's continue. So like I said, under the exempt schedule, number 5 deals with income from businesses. We're not going to speak about that not much now because we're speaking mainly to persons who are salaried employees.
Yes.
But if you have an Income Tax Act as a business owner, you should look at it and you can see which part of your income might not be taxable or might be entitled to be exempted. And then number 6, of course, you're going to total all the exempt income. So if you receive NIS, if you receive money from a source outside of Grenada, if you're a member of parliament or public officer with traveling allowance, you're going to add all those things up, including the 36,000, and you're going to put a total right there for your total exempted income. Are we clear so far? Excellent, good students. So you're going to go back now to the form. So right now we were on line number 106, and we looked at Schedule A in detail, so you understand what Schedule A is. So you're going to put your total exempt income on line number 106. So remember, before we got the exempt income, we got the assessable income. So your assessable income is the amount of income that is being assessed for taxes. the amount of your income that you earn for the year. Now, after you have your assessable income, we looked at your exempted income. So the next line tells you exactly what to do. It's asking you now for your chargeable income. So your assessable income and your chargeable income is different. Your assessable income speaks about all of your income received for the year being assessed. You declare all of your income. Now, after you remove the exempted income, now you have your chargeable income. So your chargeable income is the amount of your salary that is actually being taxed or charged for taxes. So remember, you're not being charged on your full salary.
Yes.
You're being charged on your salary less the exemption. So now your chargeable income is after you deduct your exemption. And again, it tells you what to do. The form explains itself. It tells you, so chargeable income, it says subtract line 106 from line 105. So you're simply subtracting your exempt income from your assessable income from line 105. Now, it's a simple subtraction, so don't get scared of it. Right now, we all have cell phones, you have calculators home, and I'm sure you can still do long subtraction. Write it down on paper and subtract it. So make sure you do that subtraction there. Now, this section is where it gets a little tricky for most persons when you get to line number 108 and 109. But if you listen to us very clearly now, you're going to understand, and it's not going to be tricky for you. You're going to save some money because, side note, if you don't know how to do this form right now, Inland Revenue, we're not supposed to assist you. So if you come to Inland Revenue, we can't help you. We're going to send you to an accountant, and they will charge you at least $100 to do this form. So it's good that you're learning to do it now. You can do it for yourself. Good, so let's go. Line number 108 asks you for enter the amount of chargeable income from line 107, and in bracket it says 24,000 or less. So let me step back a bit and explain this for you. In Grenada, we have 2 tax rates. How many rates did I say?
2.
Yes, 2 tax rates. Oh, I'm getting the response. Good. We have 2 tax rates. So persons who earn between $0, you don't work, you do $0 to $36,000 a year, no tax. You're exempted from tax. You don't pay anything. But from the minute time you go over 36,000, so you're here over 36,000 to 60,000, whatever falls between that bracket here, you are paying 10% tax. So 10% falls between 36,000 and $60,000 a year.
Right.
For the persons, not like me, for the persons who earn over $60,000, over 60,000, you are paying 28% of the amount that is above $60,000. So this form helps us calculate the difference in your income, what is between 36 and 60, and what is over $60,000 to determine how you calculate your taxes.
Okay.
Remember I said 10% for those who earn between 36,000 and 60, and the amount that goes over 60, you earn, well, you charge 28%.
So just to add here, Mr. Johnson, just in case that you don't mention it.
Thanks for the water break. Go ahead.
So for the persons that have back years, this area there, the rates from 10% to 20%, the 10% started in 2017. So from 17 going forward, you do the 10%. The 28% started in 2019. So from 2019 downwards is 30% and not 28%. So for persons that been delinquent or non-compliant before, and now you have to go back to file,
Oh my.
the rates are not the same.
The rates are not the same.
Yeah, so it's 15% for the back years and 30% for the back years. So from 2017 going forward, you pay the 10%. Anything from lower than 2017, you're paying 15%.
50%.
And from 2019 is 28%. Anything lower than 2019, you pay 30%. So just to make that clear, yeah. Can go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Is it clear? Good. So now we're going to do the breakdown, and we're going to explain to you why we have it as that way to calculate the difference for the tax rates. So line 108 now ask you to enter the amount of your chargeable income from line 107. So remember on line 107, that's where we wrote our chargeable income. So we subtracted the exempt income from your assessable income, and you arrive at your chargeable income on line 107. So the next line is asking you to enter the amount of that income that is $24,000 or less. So that means the most you could put on that line is $24,000. So obviously, if your chargeable income on line 107 is $500, so if your chargeable income is $500, then of course 500 is less than 24,000. So that 500 will come back on line 108. Sorry, I can't put figures to make it a little more realistic for you. However, if your chargeable income is, let's say, chargeable income is $30,000. Now the line below is asking you for the amount of your chargeable income that is $24,000 or less. So if your chargeable income is $30,000, the most you could put on the next line is $24,000. It's asking for 24,000. It's asking for 24,000 or less. So remember, if your chargeable income is $30,000, the most you're going to put on line 107 is $24,000. Now, let me explain that again, and let me tell you the reason for that. So remember, I explained to you that persons who pay 10% are the persons who earn over $36,000 but under $60,000. Now, that amount between here, 60,000 subtract 36,000 gives you $24,000. So the most amount of your chargeable income that could be taxed at 10% is $24,000.
Right.
Yeah?
So that person now who is working, who has that chargeable rate there, will now be paying $2,400 as their tax.
Yes, 10%. Ooh, she's very brilliant. 10% of 24,000. Good. Oh, like 10% of the tithes. Good.
Yeah,
Second nature.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that makes sense. A lot of sense.
Yes,
It's
good.
easy too. Okay.
So that's the easy part. That's for persons who just, you're under the $60,000, so your chargeable income is $24,000 or less, you put that there. But in the example I gave you, if your chargeable income is $30,000, you already put the $24,000 on line 108. Now the next line is asking you for enter amount of chargeable income from line 107 more than $24,000. So if it was $30,000, you already put 24,000 on line 107. The amount that is more than 24,000 in the 30,000 example will only be how much? $6,000. Yeah? You
Because
get
it's
that?
going back up. Yeah.
Right, good. So if the example that we're using is $30,000 from line 107, your chargeable income is $30,000. 24,000 of that $30,000 will be taxed at 10%, and 6,000 will now be taxed at 28%. I hope you're fine. I hope I did not lose you there. So we're going to go it over quickly, and this time try to get it. So remember, you get your chargeable income after you subtract your exempted income. So your chargeable income is the amount of your income that you're paying tax on. I use the example of someone, after they deduct the exemption, they have a chargeable income now of $30,000. So you're paying tax on $30,000. Now remember, I said there are two rates, there are two brackets. So that $30,000 is not being taxed at one rate. Out of that $30,000, the first $24,000 will be taxed at 10%, and the next $6,000, the difference from the 24-30, will be taxed at 28%. So that's what these lines help you calculate. So of course, that's why you go down now to the tax payable. It says tax payable. It says multiply line 108 by 10%. So in the example, on line 108, you will have $24,000. 10% of 24,000, like we calculated earlier, is $2,400. And in the next line, it says multiply line 109. So whatever the difference you put on line 109, you multiply that now by 28%. So now you have the amount that you're paying tax on the two brackets. So of course, obviously, the next line asks you for your total tax payable. So you just add, it says line 110 plus lines 111. So you add your amount at 10%, and then you add your amount at 28% to get your total tax payable. That's what you're supposed to pay the government for the year. We together so far? It was easy, right? You understood. Excellent. Now we're coming on to the end of the form. Just a few more lines to go through. This section now asks you for payments. So we want to know, what about your payments? Did you make advance payments? Did someone pay something for you in advance? We just calculated how much you were supposed to pay for the year. Now we want to know if you already paid us anything. So it says total prepayments and relief from Schedule C. We're not going to look at Schedule C in the interest of time, but we're asking you how much money did you pay in advance. Now, most of you, if you are a salaried employee, your employer should have been deducting that income tax for you from the year every month. So you're just going to total how much they already deducted from you and put that total there. If you also came in and made advance payments, I know there are some contract workers who are responsible for their own taxes, so you've been paying on your own every year. You just put your total, how much you paid in advance.
Okay.
So, like I said, line 112, we calculated how much we're supposed to pay. Line 113 is asking us how much we already paid in advance. And then line 114 is now asking us for the net tax payable or refund due. So obviously, if you were supposed to pay $1,000 and you already paid $1,000 in advance, your net will be zero.
Right.
Your tax, we call it a balanced tax form. Your tax form is balanced. But if you were supposed to pay $1,000, but your prepayments only added up to $500, then your net tax payable will be $500. And it tells you what to do again. Subtract lines 113 from line 112. If it is the other way around, you were supposed to pay $1,000, but you already paid $1,500, then in that case, you have a refund due. So you're just going to write that total there on line 114. And of course, we still break it down further for you on line 115 and 16. If you indeed have a refund to get, write in your refund under the refund section on line 115. If you have a balance for the government of Grenada, write it in on line number 116. And essentially, that is almost the end of your income tax form.
Okay, wow.
It's just one key section that we have to look at now. So remember, you can either have a balanced tax form, you don't owe us anything, or we could owe you, or you could owe us. Yeah? So now the last part of the form is very important. Now the tax form will not be accepted if this is not done. So you have to, this is what we call the declaration part. This is you basically saying, okay, Government of Grenada, this is a true and honest declaration. You're not swearing, but you're saying, I confirm that this was my entire income for the year. You could check it, you could take this to the bank, anything you check, this is going to come back like this is true. So you're signing to confirm that this is a true statement. So you're going to print your name on the dotted line, and there are two sections to sign. One section says signature of the tax return preparer, and the other section says signature of the taxpayer. And then there's a section at the bottom says name of tax return preparer in block letters. If you are the one that did your own tax form, you're going to sign both places. Sign as the tax return preparer because you did it, and you're also the taxpayer, so you're going to sign as taxpayer and put in your date. If it was done by an accountant for you or your friend helped you do it, that person has to sign also and put the name in block letters. Because if anything happens, we need to know who is going to be held accountable for that form. Now, even if someone does the tax form for you, you have to still sign as a taxpayer to confirm that, yes, Mr. Alexis did my tax form for me, but he did everything correct. This is a true statement, so I'm going to sign as taxpayer to confirm that I agree with everything that he wrote on the tax form for me. So those of you who are paying the accountants and so on to do your tax forms for you, the accountant has to sign as the one who prepared it. They're going to put their name in block letters as the one who prepared it, so we know exactly their name, because sometimes the signatures, we can't understand the signature. Put the name in block letters, and then you as a taxpayer, you're going to sign on the line that says taxpayer. And the last one, very important, put the date that the form was done. Yeah, because remember, there's a deadline working with. If you file late, you're going to get charged. So in a nutshell, this is the income tax form. I hope you understood it. I hope I was clear. I'm not sure if Mr. Alexis has anything else to add.
I'll just add one thing that's on line 108, 107, I don't know you're ready. The area where it gets a little tricky, right? So the 108 and the 107. The only thing I will add here, in your mind, once you know that your salary is above $60,000, on line 108, you just know that it's $24,000 you have to put on the form right there. So once you go above 60, $24,000, line 108. So you don't have to calculate. Once you go above that 60 threshold,
yes, put 24,000.
Just put 24 on the form.
And the above over 60 goes on the next line.
Anything above 60, you put on the next 109. So sometimes you don't even have to fight the calculator, and it makes it so easy because that kind of idea, once you're above there, you know, line 108, 24,000. That's what you put on the form. And whatever difference above 60, you know, you're going to line 109, and then you do the rest of the calculation. So that mentally, it makes it much more comfortable in your mind. That simple metrics above 60, I know how to put 24,000 line 108, and whatever difference above 60, it goes on line 109. So that might help you and make you less timid towards doing it.
Exactly. Good.
Okay.
Any questions from you?
Yes. Not too many, but enough. Especially the one with the side hustle. I'm very intrigued by the side hustle because so many people are doing the side hustle. Everybody's looking for something. I mean, multiple streams of income. The question though is this. Well, maybe it's a statement more than a question. If you don't keep records of what you get in, I think that is where a lot of the problems and the timidity is coming in, because yes, I'm making a little money on the side, but I really cannot remember genuinely how much money I made when I plugged this person here and they gave me a $50 and it really wasn't supposed to be 50, it's really 180, but I make you pay 50 instead because you're my friend. And that is when I think the trouble begins to come. So although, I mean, as I say, in the interest of time, we can't go into it in more detail, but what advice would you quickly give to individuals who just need to keep basic records to be able to ensure that this is true, whatever is put there in the form?
Well, it's important to do record keeping. And once you're in business, it's important to record keeping. With the example you gave, like a side hustle, in that degree, you're planting somebody here, and it might be difficult to record that, especially if you don't know that you should be doing it in the first place. Yeah. Now that we are here and we're providing you with information, now that you know you should be doing it, so going forward, you should keep those records and you should start keeping those records. What gone already? It's difficult. At least you might have some kind of idea, and you can say, well, even if you miss a 50 or you have the figure incorrect, there's nothing much we can do about it because you don't have the record.
Yes.
But at least that you're going to file to say, well, I believe this is what it is.
Right.
And in your mind, in your conscious mind, you're clear that you're not 100% certain, but you don't have the record to prove otherwise.
Yes.
And we wouldn't have the record to prove otherwise that it wasn't that figure. At the end of the day, we say self-assessed tax as well.
Yes.
So if we need to do an audit, we do an audit.
Right.
But most of the time, we accept what you submit as because it's self-assessed.
Okay, the last very important question, because just for this session, and you mentioned the word right there. It was a question that was always, just especially for the listeners and viewers who may have been hearing the term audit.
Right.
Just give us, just briefly, I'm hoping that you all will come back again whenever you can. To be able to maybe give a little more detail like we did here. I think this is amazing. But tell us a little something about the audit. When, especially this one, when would somebody even get audited? Because it's a word that people, I believe, are afraid of.
All right. Well, we are not in audits, but generally, we look at anomalies in what you file. For example, your VAT statement and your stamp tax statement is one of the key areas we look at in terms of anomalies. Now, your VAT and your stamp tax in terms of the gross should be the same, basically.
Right.
Because you have the exempt amount. The stamp tax amount is exempted from the VAT.
Right.
So the figures should match up. And this is what we usually use most of the times, or they use that as a key area and a simple area to do the audit cases or put persons for audit. There are other areas, financial statements. There might be certain things on the financial statement that looks kind of strange and doesn't add up.
It not add up, right.
And then especially sometimes the officer might be familiar with the business and they might be seeing figures that, based on what they know, doesn't match up. There might also be specific items in the financial statement that doesn't match up. Maybe history as well of what the tax has been submitting, and then the economic situation of what's taking place now. We might say, well, okay, that taxpayer said they made a loss during COVID period. Okay, we understand that. Now, we know before COVID wasn't as bad, but when we compare the loss that you say you made in 2020 COVID time, and then before, you said you also made a loss, and the loss that time might be higher than the loss you made in COVID time.
Right.
We might look at that as a red flag.
Right.
And audit might say, okay, we need to audit a person because of that red flag. So generally, that's the reason why persons get audited. We don't just go and audit everybody.
Right.
As a matter of fact, we don't have the manpower to audit everybody. So we use those anomalies from taxpayers' declaration and what they submit to put forward audit cases.
Okay.
So we're not targeting anybody. It's just that when we see things that looks kind of strange,
And that already stands out.
yeah, that stands out.
Okay.
Up for audit.
And additionally also, if we know that you had a business running for a while and you have not been filing or paying anything, that's also a reason for us to come in and check our own records. Because if we said, hey, taxes are self-assessed, and we basically leave it for you to tell us what your business is making.
Right,
But you have not been doing it for years, and we know you've been operating, we know you have employees, we know you're making money, then we'll come in and we'll audit your books. And
Also, what we got to add, well, it is not audit, but audit usually carry that function because an estimated assessment, a best of judgment. Now, that's a key area where you need to file because the taxes are self-assessed and you had the opportunity to see what it is that you should be paying.
Right.
Now, when you're doing file, audit can also do a best of judgment on you. And that best of judgment might be based on, there are different criteria they use. It might be based on business of similar nature. to yours. And they might use those criteria to complete the assessment.
Right.
Now, the assessment could be higher than what you actually made. So, you have your records, or you do not have your records, it doesn't matter. They would use a business of similar nature, similar location, and they will use those figures from that business to make a calculation for you.
And know you're in trouble because
And know
you
you're in
did not
trouble
do it
because
yourself.
because you did not do yourself.
Yeah.
And then you would have 30 days to object to those figures.
Oh my, 30 days.
Yes. If you do not object to those figures, they will stand as though you submitted it. Right? And it is very important. And that's another reason why it is very important to do your submission yourself. And don't wait for we to assess you.
Yes.
Because we can assess you by law. Yeah?
Right.
And a lot of the times the assessment is usually high than maybe
Than what
you
it
actually
actually
made.
is.
Exactly.
So it's very important. So you might be shooting yourself in the foot by not filing.
True.
Okay. Well, I am definitely converted. If no
Happy
one
to hear
else,
that.
Hallelujah.
no, for real.
Happy to hear that.
No, for real. From this, just the 2 weeks, if you're looking for persons who are settled on yes,
Yeah.
get this tax business filed and settled, you've gotten at least one person, I'm sure.
That's good.
Definitely.
That's good.
I'm already planning in my head, what day am I going to get to go and sit there and make sure that which business that is no longer there, make sure it's it's written out and all of that. And I mean, I am really, really, really grateful. I'm sure those who have, taken the opportunity to listen today, I can't vote for them, I'm not them, but I know for sure that this is as informative as we can get. Thank you so very, very, very much again. What I will say to you, listeners and viewers, is that Hillary Lawrence from the Business Support Center, which is the one that got us this connection and that we're so grateful for. I know that we are going to talk a little bit more about personal budgeting and so forth, which also will be
Excellent.
able to assist in keeping your records so that you don't have a problem with being able to fill up your form when the time comes. So thank you so much again, everybody, for viewing, for listening. Parting words before we close off.
Well, thank you again, Wendy, for having us. Just reminder about the amnesty. It's an opportunity that you should take up and don't let it pass you by. You have up to December. So come into the department, find out what your balances is. If you are already aware of what your balances are, then you can pay online. You have pay.gov.gd, you can pay there. Or you can walk into us and make the payments. If you're not aware, you can come in, we inquire, we tell you what the balances are. We give you a time to pay if you cannot pay everything one time, and we get it sorted out before end of December. Yeah?
Wonderful.
Yeah, remember, income tax filing deadline is March 31st this year. Those of you who need to file physically, you could do so at any of our district revenue offices and at Inland Revenue St. George. Even at Carriacou, you could do that. You could also submit it via mail. You could just send it in an envelope, fold it, seal it, address it to the comptroller. We also have check boxes at Inland Revenue coming to the end of the month downstairs. You could just drop it in. Additionally, you could visit our online platform. It's taxservices.gov.gd. Create an account and you could file this thing electronically online. Very easy, does the calculations for you. So these are our methods for filing. So please do so before the deadline.
All right. Thank you so much again. God's blessing on all of you. Those of you who are in a rush already to do your filing, know that you know what to do. There is no reason to not do it. Take the weekend, sit down, relax yourself, and just go back to the video and you are going to be fine. All right, try to get it in before the 31st or else you'll meet the line all the way down on the carnage and then you vex. So please try to get it done now so that you can get what has to be done and you don't have to pay any penalties. That will be a wonderful thing. All right, so have a great day and a wonderful weekend. God bless all.
Bye, guys.